Hey everyone, it's BDC. Thanks for checking out this video and for checking out my channel. Today I am going over one of my blueprint designs, something I did a couple of days ago. It's called the, let's see, what did I actually rename it to? Survival Starter Node. And I'd gotten this idea a few days ago from playing on a public server, and I was, after an hour or two or something, I was still running around with the portable constructor and then the O2 condenser and all that jazz like that. And I really wanted something that I could whip up really fast without having to construct. And there's, as far as like a small base, kind of that, I don't know, that interim step. It's a the way that I play on the multiplayer servers, I tend to go to the side of a mountain and I'll just immediately start digging out and laying concrete down, a door, and building a hangar, and then starting building a room for constructors and stuff like that. But I wanted something that would kind of fit the in between, that could be constructed in a small amount of time at a low level, with a low amount of the typical stuff that you usually find on the starter worlds: iron, copper, silicone, carbon substrate, that sort of thing. This is for Alpha 9, by the way. So anywho, there's a lot of good designs out there, and I've used several. I've used some of Excalibur's stuff. He's got some really good early survival bases. There's the level 3 starter tent. I don't know who's made that. I've used that before too, but I just wanted to make something of my own. I do content creation here in Empyrion, and I figured, what, I could do something that has my own flair, my own style, I guess. So I whipped this up. And this was the first design, and I was mostly happy with it. Cheap to build, under 200 stone dust, and under 100 of everything else. So it's stuff that could be gathered from the survival tool. And figured, okay, yeah, this will work. This will suffice. However, in practical gameplay, everything was fine with it except that. The small constructor is something that's new to A9. I think it's maybe Alpha 9.2 or Alpha 9.3. I'm not exactly sure when it showed up. It kind of took me by surprise. But it's kind of that in-between portable constructor and then going to a heavy, large constructor type thing. I think I know what the devs were going for when they did this. But even though, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how to say this here. Even though I liked it, even though it fit, and certainly the profile of the base, everything worked fine and all that, it it just wasn't quite what I needed. The large constructor, by comparison, gives you more recipes and that sort of thing like that. And one of the things that I like to use in an early game is the tier 2 drill. That small constructor makes the charges for it, but it won't make the actual drill. And so that was kind of the deciding factor for me in refitting and redoing this base. So I extended out the back here, and it gave me a little bit more room. I wound up putting a large constructor in there, and then where the small constructor was, I put an armor locker. I changed out one block, went ahead and put a food processor in here. Mind you, I'm looking at all the power consumption stuff on this, because part of this basis is I wanted it to be fueled by biofuel, if possible. If you're on a more difficult, harsh starting world on a multiplayer server, and you don't have quick access to Promethium, I wanted it to where you could power this thing off biofuel. Granted, it would take quite a lot. You'd have to go around the chainsaw and take down all the trees and deforest the area or whatever. But anyway, I still wanted that to be a thing, and so power consumption is a big deal to me. I'm one of those weird nerdy number guys that looks at stuff like that. So anywho, what I wound up doing was, I doubled the solar panel array on here and the solar capacitance. So this thing uses 8 of the small solar panels. I added a couple of cannon turrets, because why not? The standard ammo box, not the ammo controller, not that one, because I think it requires cobalt and it might be a level 7 thing or something. So I'm trying to keep this down at level 5. Let's see, and basically the rest of it is the same. You've got two cargo pallets. This is a new thing, I think, in 9.3, and I like the way they look. 8,000 volume on each of them, and clone chamber. Since this is a level 5 thing and not a level 7, we don't have the medical station. O2 station. I put that in there specifically because on some of the servers I start on, I tend to start on desert harsh worlds where there's no atmosphere. I kind of like the extra challenge of keeping up with the O2 bottles and all that. So it's pretty simple. We've got a 3x3 grid for spawning in your first couple of HVs. I've got one light, a few flares. Let's see. Underneath, I did go ahead and add a few personal footlockers. In the middle of gameplay, I was on a live server. I was actually trying to build the constructor rather than doing it from the blueprint here. I'd already had the other version, the first version of this built on the server, and so I'm knocking down the concrete and all this, and I used a small constructor to construct a large one, and I found out that I couldn't carry anything, so I didn't want to clutter up either of these boxes that I was using. I was using this for constructor storage, input output, and then this guy for base storage, you know, like extra fuel, O2 bottles, whatever I'd made, that kind of thing. And I had realized that I didn't have any room to carry any of my own stuff at all with a large constructor. So on this redesign, I went ahead and made personal footlockers, and these are all each 8,000 volume as well. So they're underneath. They should be subterranean when it's buried down into the ground, so you have to access them via the control panel. And I figured, you know, since this thing is built, you know, for 1 to 3 players, you know, trying to get a start and get the basic resources and, you know, production stuff going, I figured 3 of those boxes would be a good thing to use. Let's see. Other than that, I've got most everything set on groups here, so you can go to the control panel and you can kick on constructor. The fridge will probably likely stay on all the time. You can do food processor. I've grouped the one single light and the flares on the HV pad, and then you can watch your consumption rate versus what your solar output is. Now on testing, where I had this base built at a more of an equator, I think, or I had the thing rotated to better match the sun arc or something, I was getting over 200 kilowatt input. Most of the time, this thing sitting here idle is going to consume, I think, 65 to 70 or something like that. So if you do the majority of your large constructor stuff during the daytime when you're getting the solar input, even though the constructor will outpace what the solar panels, the solar array is able to do, you're still able to build up solar capacity and all that. So I wanted this thing to be, even though it has a small footprint, I wanted this thing to be power efficient. So a user, a player, or whatever, doesn't have to deal with power struggles or things like that. Now that's a big aim for a lot of the bases I build, is that kind of thing. I don't like to make things as efficient and to where you don't have to fiddle with it, you know what I mean? So anyway, that's it. That's the survival starter node, and it's up on the workshop. I will link it in this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and have a good day.